I'm going to be earning the Platinum Trophy on Zenless Zone Zero, an action RPG that took the world by storm when it released back on the 4th of July, with a staggering 50 million downloads in its first few days alive. It is free to play, mind you, and not only is it on consoles, but it's also available on mobile, so it's very accessible, and I did use crossplay on my phone to help with the daily grind. Another reason for its huge player base and popularity is definitely the fact that the developers, MiHoYo aka Hoyoverse, also made the huge hits Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Zenless Zone Zero is much smaller in scale compared to those two games though, with a focus on addictive mobile game mechanics. There are 44 trophies to earn, including the Platinum, and these involve story trophies, huge level grinds that will take over a month to complete, completion of the game's most difficult content, and trophies off the beaten path such as completing secret objectives during hidden commissions, and raising your trust to maximum with one of the game's adorable cats, Inky. Thank you for watching, and a massive thanks to the NC Collective as always for all of your support. Now let's head over to New Eridu to earn some trophies. First things first, let's get introduced to our characters and power through the main story as much as possible. Our main characters are siblings, Wise and Bell, that go by the alias Phaethon. They are proxies, people that guide agents through the ethereal field dimensions called Hollows, which is where we will enter combat. We then jump into the story, seeing a group called the Cunning Hares carrying out a secret mission. The animation in these cutscenes is extremely crisp and impressive. The rest of the story is played out in comic style with some great artwork and voice acting. The Cunning Hares consist of Billy, Anby, and their leader Nicole. These will be the agents that you start the game off with. After that, you need to collect agents via loot boxes, but have no fear, I got this platinum without spending a penny. All free to play. Our unlikely heroes end up falling straight into a hollow, and this is where we get our first taste of combat, playing as the nonchalant electric sword wielding agent Anby. The combat is fairly simple: basic attacks, dashes and dash attacks, special attacks that can be powered up, and of course a big ultimate attack. There are also perfect assists that can be triggered by parrying enemy attacks. Those are extremely useful, and once I mastered them, they carried me through the tougher parts of the game. After my combat tutorial and finding Billy, my first trophy popped for entering my first hollow. Now that Billy has joined the party, we can now use chain attacks, extremely powerful abilities that can be triggered at the press of a button. Billy was my main agent for my entire journey. His ranged attacks prove extremely useful for surviving the late game content. Some of the tougher bosses are best dealt with from a distance. Now that I had every ability in my arsenal, I could now finally use an ultimate ability, which are really cool and unique to each character. With the combat tutorial over, it's back to the video rental store where our protagonists are. Job done in the hollow for now. Let's bounce. So how proxies work is they control a small cute robot called a Bangboo. Yeah, questionable name. Phaethon's Bangboo is called Eos, and with this little robot they can guide the agents through the hollow. Other than combat commissions, you can also take on exploration commissions, which will bring you inside your computer system, where you move along different tiles and complete puzzles and do various other creative tasks. Some of these levels are really fun, such as one where you're playing a full-blown turn-based RPG within this mode. These exploration levels still have combat when you bump into enemies though. These are just the two halves of the gameplay. With all of that out of the way, we complete our job for the Cunning Hares and all become pen pals, and I can set up my video store called Random Play. Then I create an account on Internet, where I need to level up so that I can progress with the game and get more commissions. This is where the grind begins. Finally, I can step outside of my store and visit 6th Street, the first free roam location of the game. And this brings me the next trophy. Let's get down to business. Now it was time to explore the street and check out the sights. There was an arcade for downtime, a noodle bar for eating and gaining buffs, and a shop for buying W engines, which are equipable items that can be upgraded to give your agents big stat boosts. I'll need to level one of these to max, and that will give me a few trophies along the way. Moving forward with the story, we take on more commissions, and during one of them, our whole computer system at the store gets hacked by a mysterious AI. But once everything calms down, the AI reveals itself to be Fairy, a useful AI that helps guide us through missions and can even offer tips when stuck on puzzles. For recruiting Fairy to the team, I also earned an easy trophy. Next, I hung out with my cyborg friend Billy and headed to the arcades. There's a couple of minigames to play here, and we pwned some noobs at some Snake Duel. These are lots of fun and can give you in-game achievements that reward you with the polychrome currency, which is important for farming new agents and giving yourself more energy to earn more internet experience each day. Continuing with the main story, we met a couple of new agents. Nekomata, a really strong S-rank agent that sadly I never unlocked, and Corin, our first glimpse at one of the members of the Victoria housekeeping faction, whom we will meet later on.
Nice to meet you, investigators. I saw through it.
With this commission completed, I also picked up a story-related trophy for boarding an explosive train. Now I had enough specific materials to upgrade an agent's level cap, so I raised Billy's level up to 20 for a trophy, and then did the exact same for his equipped W engine. I had now unlocked a new location called the HIA, a company that offers you VR training, and this is basically where you can farm any material that you need, but there is a 300 energy limit per day, if you have a coffee, in typical mobile game fashion. You have to use batteries or polychromes to get more, with a cap of 8 times a day when spending polychromes. This is the best way to farm XP, so I spent a lot of time here. I then tried my luck with a few of the tapes I'd earned. The tapes are just another name for the loot boxes. It wasn't an agent I really wanted, but I got myself an S-rank agent, Rena. It still felt nice to get lucky. Back to the story again, and we are wrapping up chapter 1. There's a proper boss fight at the end of these commissions that has multiple phases. My first proper challenge. I can imagine on mobile some of the harder fights are extremely frustrating. The gameplay on console is way smoother and easier. We are briefly introduced to the agents from Belobog Industries, and the Cunning Hares recruit Nekomata into their ranks, resulting in us all celebrating with dinner and a shiny gold trophy to mark the end of the chapter. I had reached the required internet level now for the endgame content. I had to go to Scott Outpost, a military base set up outside of the Hollow, with the intention of sending forces in to hold back the invading Ethereals. There's a couple trophies that revolve around completing the difficult commissions here in Hollow Zero on the hardest difficulty, Core. These commissions are basically roguelikes. You'll collect Rizonia cards which will give you buffs. You need to choose your Rizonia carefully, as these can make or break your runs. You don't even have a full team at the start. You need to find phone boxes to bring your chosen agents back into the squad. You can also collect gear coins that can be spent at shops or deposited into a bank for your next run. There are many more mechanics involved in Hollow Zero, too many to go through, but this is some really good content. This is just the introduction to Hollow Zero. We meet the public security squad and witness the most powerful agent chasing down a giant ethereal. They would probably bring out a new ranking for her if they put her into the game, she's that powerful. With this part over for now, I was then introduced to another shop on my street, the Turbo Remodeling Shop, owned by Enzo.
Did you want to mod something?
This is where I could finally get my own Bangboo that would fight with my agents. They're support characters that can attack and stun enemies, or buff and heal your team. You can upgrade and level them up, but there aren't any trophies surrounding them. But you do need to get one to at least level 40 to progress through a primer challenge. They're basically objectives that give experience and a trophy once they're all completed. I went back to the grind, completing more commissions, and I picked up more observation data, something that simply gives you polychromes when you collect them. They can be found during exploration commissions, or earned during combat commissions for completing objectives. There are also free trophies tied to collecting them, and I hit my first milestone here for collecting 50. Because of reaching a certain internet level, I unlocked my first agent story. There are 3 missions in each of these that give you a deep dive into certain characters. Fully completing these gives you a trophy for each one, but you need to raise your internet level first to be able to complete them all. Internet levels are the most important thing when it comes to this platinum. Continuing onwards, I completed a commission for saving Belle from the Hollow, and was then awarded with the trophy Family for completing Faith on Story. I could then begin chapter 2. Chapter 2 begins and I immediately unlock a new area, the Belobog construction site. With a plethora of new characters to meet, we see that Belobog are having issues with their worker robots going rogue.
Hey, what have you done now?
It's you, Anton. Diagnostic's almost done. Just stay like that. Don't move.
We encounter a huge bear called Ben, who is presumed to be their leader, but is actually Kaleda Belobog, who had to take over the company from her father at a young age.
I'm president of Belobog Industries. Kaleda Belobog.
Simply for meeting her, I had a trophy thrown at me. I took a break from the story for a bit and went back to Hollow Zero to complete my first proper Hollow Zero level without the training wheels. I made it to the final boss but experienced my first death of the game. I needed to treat this like a flipping Souls boss. I feel sorry for mobile players. Luckily you can restart from the start of the fight, and eventually completing this Hollow Zero level earned me the trophy Outsourced Investigator. During the next commissions I could test out the Belobog agents, cycling between Ben, Kaleda, Grace and Anton. Grace seemed like a clear winner here, she was really strong. But unfortunately, she was another agent I never managed to unlock. We were tracking down their rogue machinery. The AI had developed personalities, so they were all a bit wacky, and we encountered one that had fallen in love with a building.
So it's you! The bad guys who tried to break up me and Mr. White!
It's not that rundown building it's on, is it?
Don't insult Mr. White!
These boss fights were really cool. They're weak to electric attacks, and all of these bosses can be replayed and farmed for materials back at the HIA. Once I defeated this boss and wrapped up the commission, I got another story trophy. The next machine we tracked down had a bond with Anton, so he joined the team this time. We were tracking down one of Anton's bros.
Don't treat me like a child refusing their medicine! I'm a real bro! Fearless and unyielding! A real bro? You call yourself a real bro after that sneak attack? Oh? Look who's talking! The answer is simple then! Let's battle! One-on-one!
After an awesome but similar fight to the last one, abusing the electric anomaly from Anton and Grace, I defeated the machine and it decided to come back to Belobog as Anton's bro, awarding me the trophy, an absolute real bro. After checking the trophy list, I realised the trophy for simply going upstairs to the second floor of the video store hadn't popped. Nothing a quick relog wouldn't fix though. I was back to the grind for more Internot XP so that I could once again progress with the story, and after completing a combat commission I earned my 100th observation data, which popped a trophy. I was now the required level to complete Soldier 11's agent story. Each of the agent stories has had as much work put into it as the main story, all with their own cinematics, and at least you get to trial out each character. Soldier 11 was similar to Anvi but wielded a fire sword instead of electric. These missions weren't too long, and once this third one was completed, I earned the trophy playing myself. Now I could continue with Chapter 2, catching another machine with Belobog Industries. This time it was a machine called the Pile Driver. Catching up to it and defeating it in battle earned me another trophy, lots of them in Chapter 2. Coming up to the Chapter 2 finale, we learn about Kaleida's sad past. She always believed that her dad walked out on her and was a criminal, but we've been investigating and it seems this isn't the case. Much more of this mystery will be revealed when more story content releases. We do, however, come across an ethereal that combines all of the machines we saved to create a huge mechanical monstrosity. Another big multi-phase boss fight incoming. After a long fight with lots of cutscenes sprinkled in, Kaleida finally finishes off this new type of ethereal in dramatic fashion.
Even if corrupted, our Belobog machinery will never give in!
With the boss defeated, that was the end of Chapter 2, with a gold trophy to symbolise it. It was time to relax a bit. I was back to the grind sections where I needed to increase my Internot level to progress again. During this, I unlocked the final shop on 6th Street, Bardic Needle, a shop for purchasing drive discs, items that you equip around your W engines. They give you amazing stat boosts and you can also upgrade them. For unlocking the final shop, I earned the Shopper the Explorer trophy. With higher Internot levels comes new agent stories to play through. This time it was Nekomata's agent story. I was waiting until I had the required level to complete all 3 agent story missions at once to save faffing about. With the completion of Nekomata's story, you guessed it, another trophy. After hitting a certain Internot level, I could now take a test to reach a new Internot ranking. This would allow me to upgrade my agents and W engines up to level 40. For each of these tests, you need to defeat challenging enemies within a time limit. Once this was over, I also unlocked a brand new area to explore, Lumina Square, a really aesthetically pleasing area that has all the same shops as 6th Street and is also home to the public security. These are the guys we will be getting involved with next during the story. I was to help them solve a crime on 6th Street, not far from my home. We had to question the shop owners and check out the crime scene. At least it was a break from mowing down ethereals. I also picked up a trophy for my time. I then got round to leveling Billy up to 40, and once again doing the same to a W engine for both of those trophies. During this public security chapter, I could eventually play as one of the officers, Zhu Yuan, another character I wish I'd unlocked because she's powerful and lots of fun. We had to chase a criminal that had set off an EMP in Lumina Square, and of course he ran into a holo, so we had ethereals to deal with too. Once we had caught him, a story trophy popped. Continuing with the police work, we kept delving deeper into the holo to retrieve stolen evidence. Once we had picked that up, once again a story trophy was awarded to me. For completing those commissions, I unlocked Grace's agent story, ready to complete later, and I made a visit to Officer Mew Mew. Any side quests and events you complete in the open world can be handed in here for rewards and observation data, and I earned my final observation data trophy here for collecting 200 of them. Now I could begin the final chapter that's available to me at launch. I was back working with the Cunning Hares, and we entered a new area called the Ballet Twins, which was a huge tower named after the statues there, and also some scary myths and legends about the place being haunted by the twins. Our objective during the commission was to turn all of the lights on and avoid enemies, but when we did get into combat there were plenty of new types of ethereals to face. Eventually we come across a bunch of new agents, the rest of the Victoria housekeeping members, Lycon, Rena and Ellen. Corin we had already met earlier.
Allow me to introduce ourselves. We are Victoria Housekeeping.
These introductions also introduced me to a new trophy. Now I could trial out these new agents. They are an extremely powerful team when they're combined together, especially Ellen Jo, the shark girl. She's actually quite frankly overpowered. I tried to unlock her during an event, but I didn't have enough loot boxes and wasn't lucky enough.
Ellen, lead one of them. Conscious.
After this mission we had turned the lights on in the building and I earned another trophy for doing so. It was time for this chapter's final boss, and we literally had 2 Ballet Twins ethereals to face. These bosses are replayable and will have to be fought multiple times during this platinum journey. It's a really cool fight, but you need to make sure you take them both down almost at the same time. Otherwise the one that was taken down first will regenerate if its twin isn't also defeated. Once we had taken the twins down, Lycon rescues the Cunning Hares from an airship, and this also concludes the chapter, awarding me with that shiny gold trophy. Shortly after, to give some more story context before the end, we find out a monster's name, sacrifice, and also that Victoria Housekeeping are more suspicious than they seem. This will all be revealed with more content in time, but for now I was awarded an extra trophy. With the main story out of the way, the true grind would now begin, starting off with finishing up all of the agent stories. They were now all unlocked, I just needed a high enough internet level to start them. The last stories I completed were Grace's, Pallada's, Lycon's, and Rena's, with plenty more to come in the future, maybe with trophies, who knows. Another grind I had to do outside of combat and commissions was gaining the trust of Inky the cat, which takes a very long time because you need to wait for cat food to restock weekly in the shop. Another one is to do with the primer objectives. I needed to reach maximum trust with multiple agents for one of those tasks, and you could only increase your trust with 3 agents daily, unless you spend ages waiting for random events. A few days later, I had upgraded my video store to the max level. This just requires grinding to a high enough internet level, and then the trophy is yours. Now for the challenging stuff. I had to dive into Hollow Zero and complete one of the levels on core difficulty. You really do need a good team that's upgraded as much as possible to do these. Either that or just wait until you can level everyone to 60 so you're overpowered. After my first Hollow Zero stage completed on core difficulty, I earned the trophy, One Who Gazes into the Abyss. Then a few days later, when I logged in, a trophy popped for completing all of the primer challenges. This happened because I'd been playing on my phone whilst I was away. I'm glad the trophy tracking still worked well for this. Next, I had 2 hidden commissions to find. They're hidden because you need to start them by talking to characters in the open world areas that don't have any prompts above their heads, so you could end up never bumping into them if you're not bothering to talk to everyone. The first commission is a really awesome and unique commission that I mentioned earlier. It's a full-blown RPG where you need to find items, increase your stats, complete puzzles, and defeat enemies and bosses all within the computer system. Not only do I have to complete this challenging commission that takes over an hour or so, I also need to achieve the hidden ending by making friends with all of the Bangboos here. So this trophy can be missed if you don't know about it. This took a long time and I felt like I'd failed and was going to have to retry, but you can get very lucky with critical hits and dodges, so keep persevering until you can farm enemies before the main boss. When you fight the main boss, all of the Bangboos help you to defeat him, and once you do, you will be awarded with the trophy, and then you can see all of the friends that you made over this long journey. The next hidden commission is a bit more straightforward. It's a basic mission, but I needed to find a Bangboo called Little Beetroot, tucked away during the computer sections. I actually bumped into it accidentally, so it was nowhere near a challenge compared to the previous trophy. For finding this little guy, I earned the trophy right away. After many more days of the daily grind, I eventually reached a new trust milestone with Inky the cat. At each trust milestone you need to complete a small event to progress further, and this was my final one with Inky, so I could finally get this ultra rare trophy for maximum trust. You can also adopt Inky into the video store and change its name if you so wish. I had now reached Internot level 45, so I could take on the final and hardest stage in Hollow Zero. This stage was extremely difficult and I didn't have the best luck with my Resonia until later on. I was lucky to scrape through, but it paid off when I suddenly became so powerful with all sorts of crit and shield buffs. The final boss at the end of this Hollow Zero stage was the boss from the story that the public security guys were fighting against. Linking this game mode into the story was a nice touch. The boss fight was really good, I had lots of fun doing it, and it was a long time coming, so it felt really good earning this gold trophy at the end of it. Now I spent more or less the next week doing my daily grinds, mostly farming the HIA VR encounters and completing every piece of content I could, because I needed to reach Internot level 50, which would allow me to take my final test. I succeeded in my final test, which was essentially a boss rush, and then I could finally earn the last 2 trophies that I had been waiting for. Raise an agent to level 60 and a W engine to level 60, and that's when I was awarded that sweet platinum trophy. I had a couple days away from the game and the servers were down for me one day, but I still managed to be the 104th person in the world to earn this platinum. Not too shabby. Thanks for watching, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a repetitive game, so I hope I made it entertaining enough. Thank you to the NC Collective, and I'll see you around.